Howdy, folks. I'm getting even with Michael, who said to leave my cowboy hat on the table. Howdy. Jim Worthen. The show is Worthen One. We're here on Channel 17 on Friday at 7 o'clock, and you can just look at the schedule that you have on your TV and see when there are different repeats, but you can, DVD it. We're also on YouTube. And if you go to TVSB website, there's a on-demand section, and you just scroll down to the last thought, and that's Jim Worthen. And so a lot of ways to see us. Main reason to mention that is we're on the South Coast, but much of Santa Barbara County, much of what we talk about and do is statewide, definitely countywide, international even, and or has meaning for those different areas. Chuck Curtis is I'll use the term that I like, and he can come up with his own term. He's a dear friend, and I've known Chuck probably now for 15 years, going back to his ministry and missions at the Presbyterian Church in Santa Barbara. I'm going to talk briefly about his background, and then we'll get into some slides and video presentation on the Santa Barbara Mission Conference, February 1st at the First Presbyterian Church. Chuck, first of all, how did you get involved in missions? You were a Lutheran. They don't reach out for anyone. Go on. You came to the Presbyterian Church, and
I hope there are no Lutherans in your audience. Oh, they do reach out. They're very good in global missions. In fact, I was a Missouri Synod Lutheran back in the 90s, and they're very much involved with mission. So, I was active at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church here in Santa Barbara, and then it was time for a change. I sensed it was time for a change. And I shopped around a little bit, and I came to First Pres because as a graduate of Santa Barbara High School, I knew about First Presbyterian Church, and you did as well. And they were very active in the 60s and the 70s when I graduated from high school. So I went there and I said, yeah, this is my new church. I'm going to join First Presbyterian Church. And I did. Now, I'd been active at the Lutheran Church. I'd been on education committee and buildings and grounds, things like that, but I'd never been on the mission committee. So when I came there, a year later, they put me on the session. They said, we want you to serve as an elder. So they voted me in as an elder, and an elder for mission and evangelism. And so I said, great. And that was my, that was the first time to work on it. And it was a good fit because I'm interested in the world and global mission. World affairs and things going on in the world. And also the deep feeling I have for people who give their lives to mission work. It's not comfortable work, but people give their lives to that. And so that's at a deeper level. I said, yes, I want to serve as a mission elder.
Brief aside, there's a mission Presbyterian church that First Pres is aligned with, a gigantic church, I guess 3,000 people or so in Thailand, right?
Oh, we have a sister congregation in Thailand. Yes, a group of us went there in 2013 to explore a relationship, and we liked what they saw, and they liked our group who went there. Eric Wiebe was part of that when he was associate pastor. And so we said, let's develop other than a Western church sending someone to some place around the globe, let's have a sister-sister partnership. And we talked about it, and they said, yes, let's do that. And so that continues on. In fact, last November, 4 of their pastors were here to visit us here in Santa Barbara.
Well, you usually lead a group of people, sometimes 3, 4, 5 people over there, next time you're going to do that, give us a shot for a show.
Very good idea. Thank you, Jim. I'd like to do that. Yeah. Yeah, there's similarities with their church and ours. Theirs was founded in 1869 by a Presbyterian missionary. Ours was founded in 1868. Ours was founded in 1869 by a Presbyterian minister who came up along the coast like Father Sarah did and established Presbyterian churches, founded Presbyterian churches. And so there are a lot in common. The people, the profile of the people, members of their church, are similar to the members of our church here. So it's a very nice relationship we have with them.
The upcoming mission conference is the 25th? 25th.
No, it's the 23rd.
Oh. Well,
Here-
then you'll be back next year and the year after that, and then 27, 28.
Well, yeah, I might be using a cane then, but I will be back. Yeah. So a year from now it'll be the 24th, and then
So this must be the 23rd.
So we have miles on our odometer. We've done 22 now, and in 2 weeks it'll be the 23rd. So.
And we've shared about them probably 5 or 6 times.
I think so. You've been good to us, Jim. You've had me here to talk about our conference.
Yeah, but after this, we won't tell the people, but on Saturday morning of the mission conference, there's pastries and coffee, and I get that free.
Pastries, coffee, and fruit, not just pastries. So we call it the Continental Breakfast. So it's quite nice, and I hope. And I expect to see you there.
Put my name in there.
I expect to see you there early and enjoying some coffee and some refreshments.
And you know, I stick around for most of the program. Last year I had a blessed experience listening to Father Bob, the rector, or I guess he's the pastor of the Greek Orthodox Church. And so you learn things and you experience things.
Well, our mission statement for the conference is to inform, inspire, and engage in the work of God's mission. And so if we inform and inspire, we would say that doesn't justify putting on an annual mission conference. But if people engage as a result of being at the conference throughout the hours of the conference, then we feel we've done the work that we're called to do.
Well, I hadn't looked at it that way, but I've told you the story after the conference. And next week, I had Father Bob on TV, and he, I said I never knew the name of a homeless person, and he took me to Alameda Park and introduced me to volunteers, other pastors, and some homeless people that I got their name and got to know them.
Mm-hmm.
So it should end up in engaging.
Yes, and that's how we set it up as much as possible so that people engage. We have exhibitors every year so that if you heard a breakout leader and been inspired or interested in
Are the exhibitors going to be back? I think we lost some at COVID.
We did. It's a smaller scale exhibitors, but we'll have 6 or 7 exhibitors this year, the ones who are part of the breakout
What kind of
session.
things do they exhibit?
Well, what they do, for example, in the afternoon breakout sessions, Nikki Ramage is going to be there with a couple of ladies from the Bethel House. And the Bethel House is part of the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. And most of your viewers probably know about the rescue mission. It's been, 50 years or more?
Yeah.
They've been, I think more than 50, 60 years. And so that's one thing. And there are ways to volunteer either at the Bethel House or at some other part of the rescue mission.
Is it over on Chapala Street?
The Bethel House is on Arriaga Street.
Arriaga, okay.
Right. It's a house on Arriaga Street. And another breakout session is on human trafficking, something that we had one last year as well on human trafficking.
Well, let's come back to those.
Yeah.
I want you to
Right.
go in depth.
Right.
I wander, but you can't. That's part of the...
Right, yeah. That's the deal. Okay, I signed the contract.
The conference, you tried for a couple of years, and I want you to explain why it isn't still going on. A Friday night session with music, like a praise band from Ocean Meadows Church.
Ocean Hills, yeah.
Yeah.
We did. We expanded. In fact, I think it was, we may show some of the slides. We expanded in 2012, I think it was, to add a Friday night session to grow the conference. And we did it for a number of years, but when COVID came, as we came out of COVID, it wasn't sustainable. We weren't getting enough. It wasn't paying off to put in the effort for a Friday night session. But when we did, we had worship, as we do every Saturday. We have worship at the conference, and on Friday night we would have worship followed by one of the keynote speakers. We'd have at least two. We'd have two keynote speakers. So there's a Friday night keynote and then the Saturday keynote.
Now it's just Saturday.
Now it's just Saturday, and we have one keynote.
Is there music Saturday?
Well, yeah. Eben Drost is the worship leader at Westmont College, and so for a number of years we've had him come and provide the worship music and leadership for the mission conference. And so he brings some of his musicians, probably mostly from Westmont. He brings his musicians, and it's wonderful. He's a very gifted
No harps,
leader.
though. I don't even think violins. It's kind of upbeat.
Right, no. For the conference, we choose to have more contemporary music and praise music and traditional hymns too. He knows. I don't provide guidance for him. He knows the conference and he knows the people. I haven't seen his playlist, but I trust him. I don't really need to see it. But it's uplifting music, it's contemporary music, and
Mike, could you get ready the slides, and is that one of them?
Oh, may I talk about that, Jim?
Yes.
Well, that was our fifth mission conference. The first one, we had a well-known Presbyterian missionary, a man who went with his wife.
Leave that up a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, Harold Kurtz was the first one, we got that with 3 months to go. He was available, and then we say, okay, let's bring in speakers that are known speakers beyond, the smaller circle. Well, anyway, so that we got Lloyd Ogilvie, and I was on the phone with his secretary, and he said, well, Lloyd Ogilvie, by the way, was the chaplain of the U.S. Senate. He had been for years. He'd been the head of staff at Hollywood Presbyterian Church. And then he became the chaplain of the U.S. Senate. So that was the number 5. That was 2007. So by that time, we were having speakers that were nationally known, if not internationally known. And then the following year, we got Earl Palmer, who is a very well-known Presbyterian pastor. At this time, at the time we got him, he was
Leave those slides up while we're talking. Thank you.
Yeah. He was the pastor at University Presbyterian Church in Seattle, Washington, which is adjacent to the huge, University of Washington campus. And so he was great as a speaker. And then this was the first of our seminary presidents. This was Richard Mao was our keynote. Along with that, we had Hunter Farrell, the head of global missions for the Presbyterian denomination. And another faculty member at Fuller on the right there, Dr. Choi, I think it is. He did a breakout. And then Marilyn Borst, a well-known mission mobilizer for the Presbyterian Church.
And that was 2009?
That was 2009, I believe. Yeah. Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorites. This was Darrell Guter was the keynote. At the time, he was the dean of Princeton Seminary. And he was the chief man behind the book Missional Church, which came out at the end of the 1990s. And it created lots of thinking and discussion about the purpose of the church. And so that was, I loved that one. I loved having him and hearing his speech. Okay, so here's some history, Jim. So we began in 2003. As I say, we're now doing our 23rd. So 2003 was our first one. with one speaker. We had about 10 or so missionaries represented. So on 2012, we introduced the Friday session. Bethany Huang from International Justice Mission was our keynote. And we introduced a reception following the, we had the reception on Friday before the conference began, before the Friday night part of the conference. 2012, that's when those things took place. So we continued with the missional church theme. And we had John Frank, the second from the left there, was the...
Yeah, leave that up, please.
Yeah, he was the part of that missional church movement in the academic world. And Hunter Farrell came back, and then Roberta Heston, a well-known pastor at the time. She was at Solana Beach Presbyterian Church. She was the head of staff there, and she was one of our speakers.
Yeah.
She was our keynote our Saturday keynote that year. Yeah.
We have, here it is. I was going to say it's started out as Presbyterian, but we've got co-sponsors, and including another Presbyterian church, El Montecito, but these are of different denominations. Tell us about each church.
Yes, well, El Montecito's been there all along, and of course, as you know, there was a time when the El Montecito joined the ECO branch of the Presbyterian Church, but then we were all together. In fact, two of our...
That's right, the denomination of El Montecito ECO Presbyterian just 15 years ago, so they started out with you as...
Oh, yeah. In fact, Kirk Gilbert and Shirley Fender are still with us. They're extremely important members of our council, and they contribute a lot to the council. And they're members of El Montecito.
Wait, he led our Bible study at El Montecito this morning. I didn't tell him he was going to get a advertisement tonight.
Well, he no longer practices medicine, so he doesn't need any more patients.
Heart surgeon.
His time is his choice now.
Leave that up while we have a chance to talk about it.
The one before? Oh,
Yeah,
well, okay, so that's right, Jim. So we have partners now, and the first to join was Free Methodist. They've been great all this time. That was 10 years ago. They joined as our partner, and El Montecito was always there. And then the Montecito Covenant Church and the Ocean Hills Covenant Church joined shortly thereafter. And then we give a plug to Jan O'Connor because she champions the food hospitality. So your muffins and your fruit on Saturday morning, you can give her credit for that.
What's his name again? It's a he.
No, Jan. It's a she.
Oh, Jan. Okay.
Jan O'Connor it's a she.
That's better. That's woman's work at Jan. Yeah.
Okay.
I can offend everybody, even in a Christian environment.
I just laughed instead of joining the battle. So, right, women's work. Okay, so now this is 2013, the year that we added our first ecumenical partner. That's the church word for that, having a different denomination represented. Now, Scott Sundquist was a very big-time scholar. He's a mission scholar. He writes books, so at least one a year, and he's highly thought of in academic mission. And so at the time, he was the dean of missions at the head of the mission school at Fuller.
My eyes are bad. Which person is that?
He's upper left.
Okay, left. Okay.
Yeah. And now he's the president of Gordon Conwell Seminary back in Massachusetts. And so, perfect speaker for a mission conference. I mean, he's written the histories, and he's the man.
Is he speaking this time, or?
No, he's busy being president of his seminary. Next to that, the next to that was, Mike, could we go back to 2013? Yeah, thank you. That's Brenda Salter McNeil. Now she's the one that causes search. A very inspiring speaker. Racial justice that's her passion. That's what she teaches. She teaches at Seattle Pacific University, and she was the one. People came to see her and her very impassioned.
Is she back this time?
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's not back this time. No. But we have a list, you know. Sometimes we invite people to return, but
Yeah.
not this time.
We'll get to the program. Let's go on with the history.
Okay,
Right.
then we have Mark Labberton, and I'll say a personal word about Mark Labberton. In the fall of 2013, he was installed as the president of Fuller Seminary, and that's a very big, in the world of seminaries, that's a very big position, a coveted position.
What seminary?
Fuller.
Oh, down here
Yeah,
in-
Pasadena.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I say that because, well, in our circles, it's pretty well known because it's a large and very effective seminary, and people from all over go there. Anyway, so he agreed. I think it was in like July. He said, "Okay, I'll be your speaker in 2014," and then he became president of Fuller in that fall. But he still honored his commitment. He said, "No, I'll be there." And I thought, "Well, you're so busy now. You're the president of the seminary." And he said, "No, I'll be with you."
Did I have him on that year?
You did. You did
Yeah.
have him on, yes. And he agreed to that,
He had
too.
just been promoted, and I took credit for it.
Yeah, right. I'm sure he smiled as you said that, yeah. So he's now, there's a new one there, but he was 10 years at Fuller Seminary. And then Shane Claiborne, well, that was quite a duo there because Shane Claiborne is a radical Christian. He's the one who made a phone call to Mother Teresa in Calcutta and said, while he was still a college student, says, "My friends and I, we want to come there and work with you." And she said, "Okay, come on over." she
Did
picked
he
up
go?
the phone. So he did. He went there and probably for a year or so, and shared in the ministry
What an
of
experience.
Mother Teresa, and then came back. So he's a radical. He lives in a converted school bus. He sews his own clothes, and so he's great for a mission conference. People come out and say, "Wow, listen to him."
That's
Of course, he's
Claiborne?
Shane Claiborne. Of course, he has his seminary degree, and he knows
Yeah.
he can cite the Bible from memory and all that.
And
He's
this
qualified.
was what year?
And then this is 2018. I think we brought back Brenda Salter McNeil because she was quite the inspiring speaker. And again, the Black Church. Part of hearing her is you hear the Black Church. A lot of emotion. That's how she preaches and how she speaks. And then Sung Chan Rao, and we were very pleased to have him. He is a Korean American born in Korea, a very effective minister, very well positioned in the academic world. He was at the Covenant Seminary in Chicago, and now he's at Fuller Seminary. He's there now teaching courses, and he's a solid scholar and a very good speaker.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know the history of Christianity, that Korea probably has the biggest percentage of Protestant followers. It's, Presbyterians are big, Covenant Church, just they really have taken to following Christ and raising their families in a loving way.
Yeah, there was an explosion of coming to Christ in between 1900 and 1910. There was just an explosive growth of the Christian faith in Korea. There was just one Korea back then, and so that.
There we
that's
go.
history.
Oh,
Okay, that's a nice poster, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, there we have Craig Barnes, the president of Princeton Seminary, and he was our Saturday keynote. And then our Friday keynote was Ephraim Smith, who was a very good speaker, one of the pastors at a church in Sacramento. He grew up in Minneapolis, not too far.
What year was that?
I think that was 2022. Oh, October.
Oh.
No, that was the 2018. Sorry, that was 2018. The slide before that was the 2016. This is the 2018 mission conference. And so, yeah, Craig Barnes came out from New Jersey to be our keynote. Very good, very good.
Do we have any more slides? There we are.
All right, maybe this might be the last slide, unless you want to show the current one. This is Father Boyle. This was the greatest attendance of any of our mission
Oh,
conferences.
Father Bob from LA, kind of teaching people to come out of homelessness and poverty and find work and creativity and almost capitalism.
Well, yeah, Father Greg Boyle is the one. He's quite well known, internationally known. He writes about every couple of years. He writes a book, and he's a Jesuit priest who is with those gangbangers in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You drive around those you avoid those neighborhoods. Most people do, but he's right there with them, and he does funerals for when a gangster shoots another gangster.
Yeah, I misspoke when I said homeless. He's deeply involved in the gang world.
Maybe you were thinking of Homeboy Industries. He created a whole thing called Homeboy Industries. I think you can, at LAX, you can even have I think they have a restaurant there, Homeboy, some kind of refreshments there. So he's the one who says, this is my ministry, these people that, the bullets are flying and all that, but he's right there with them and giving them jobs, raising them up, treating them like people, and getting to know the families, and encouraging them to stay in school, all those things. So he's wonderful. And the timing was right. He came, I guess the timing was right, but people flocked to the mission conference that year because he was our speaker.
Well, it's a blessing that you think of conferences, you have 150, 200 people, really get to talk to some of these people, spend time. Maybe there's 2 or 3 of you get around and talk to Father Bob or somebody, and it's not just a speech.
Right. And the lunchtime, we do a lot in one day, and so we're thoughtful about how that time is spent. And the lunch period is really the best time for relationships and sharing information. And so, for example, these days when we have a speaker who appeals especially to younger Christians, like college students, we put them in a room where the college students and the young adults can go and meet with him, so they can spend time with him.
These are box lunches, right?
Yeah, it's like a box lunch. Yeah, we have a buffet line. We'll have the sandwiches and the chips, so you get a little lunch bag with handles, and then you pick what you want as you go down the line. But instead of technically, it's a lunch bag, and you pick out what you want, and that's how we.
But it's able to travel to another room, to another conference.
Most people will sit in our, we call it the Christian Fellowship Center. Most people will sit there and have conversation around round tables. But if it's a sunny day, you can go out on the steps. You and your friends can go out on the steps and have your lunch there. And we've got sodas along with the sandwich and the chips and the pickles and all that. We have Coke and Diet Coke and all those things.
I tell people, and I pray every time I drive by, that the First Presbyterian Church there is a facility not just for Presbyterian worship. It's a facility for the community. The symphony plays there, the Westmont Choir with other speakers, mission conference. It's a gift to Santa Barbara.
I've never known a head of staff there who hasn't been open to the community and anxious to share our facilities with the community. And for example, the neighborhood association for the neighborhood where our church is, they have their meetings there. Typical example. We have about 5 Alcoholics Anonymous groups who come there and have their meetings at our church.
Yeah. They don't have anything for verbose Anonymous. Is that a proper group?
For what?
You talk too much, Jim. Verbose Anonymous.
Verbose Anonymous? Well, maybe if you want to start a group, we'll see if we can find
charter member.
We'll see if we can find a conference room for you to meet. Yeah, good idea. Okay, let's develop that.
Is this the last slide, I think?
Oh, that's late enough. Yeah, this is, this is, COVID came, but we said, let's keep going. And instead of, that's coming. Mike, go back one slide, please. Yeah, there we go. We said, well, we'll try to keep going. Now, the very careful people at First Pres said, well, you can't have a conference in February of 2021 because COVID is COVID is all around us. But we asked our partner, the Montecito Covenant Church, and they said, yeah, you can have it here. So their sanctuary became a studio. So we had the worship band, and over yards away we had the MC and we had the camera, and behind the wall we had the technical people like Mike here doing the technical.
So you had a conference, but not at First Pres.
We had a remote conference, yeah. Was that our first remote? I think it was our first remote.
Did people come to the facility?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because of COVID, they couldn't. But what we did, it became a broadcast conference. And so remote connections enabled people to participate in the conference. We lost money that year, a fair amount, but the council said, well, let's keep going, even though this terrible disease is around us, that we'll find a way to do it. And we did.
Huh.
We found a way to do it.
You're not doing this for a big money maker. You're doing it to try and pay the bills. Well,
Yeah.
some of these people you have to fly in, you have to find accommodations.
It's a struggle, and we have a list. We have a list of generous individual donors, and a list. There are about six or seven churches who support this.
Okay.
And it needs support because these days we charge $45 for general admission, $30 for under 30. So if you're less than 30 years of age, you can use that price because in Santa Barbara, if you're in your 20s, life's not even.
How much is the admission?
For $30. If you're under 30, it's $30 because that age group is trying to get on their feet, right?
But it's how much if you're over 30?
$45.
I thought it used to be 110 or something.
Oh, it got up to No, I don't think it ever was that high. I don't think it was. But we find that at this price that it works. That people say, yeah, I'm willing to pay this much. And if you're a student, it's only $15. So that's what we charge.
And if you want to come and you really can't pay, we'll find somebody.
We have a scholarship. Yeah, we have a scholarship, but you have to apply for that.
I'm a scholarship student.
All right.
Are we? Yeah. Is this the last
So
slide?
that was the one there with that sort of golden background. That was Shane Claiborne came back, and Reggie Williams, a Westmont grad, who's a professor at McCormick Seminary in Chicago, was our very he wrote a very well discussed paper on racial justice. And so he was and plus we had breakout leaders. But they all came in remotely because that was COVID, so everything had to be done electronically. Okay, this last one, last year, a year ago now, two things were introduced. The Neighbor Walks, which is taking place, and they have a website too. I think it's SB Neighbor Walks. Because the ministry often happens on the street. You mentioned Father Bob took you to Alameda Park, and you learned some names of some homeless people. Often ministry can be effective if you're in the neighborhoods and you're observing, and this is kind of the approach of the one that's coming up. Tim Soren's saying, "Discovering the church right where you are," and that's the subtitle of his book, Discovering the Church Right Where You Are. So in the Christian world today, there are people in groups walking through neighborhoods and observing and seeing things that are taking place where the presence of God, you can see the presence of God. People being helped, people getting on their feet, people getting a ride to school, things like that, working together. So your Christianity is out there on the streets. So the Neighbor Walks is something that's spun off of that. So there's a whole group of people that have organized these Neighbor Walks. They have a website. Once a month they take a walk. Sometimes it's on Haley Street. There's an area there which is a problematic area. Sometimes they go to the west side, the lower income area of Santa Barbara's west side, and they have walks. And there's a leader there too who knows the neighborhood and kind of lead the walk. And so it's like, instead of being inside the walls of a church for worship, you're outside taking a walk, noticing things that are going on, where you can sense the presence of God, where people are stepping in and saying...
Do you talk to the people as you...
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, that's the thing about it, where like, click, okay, I'm talking to someone, and you make connections, how long have you lived in Santa Barbara? And then sometimes it's a person who the people are not paying attention to that person. And so you're having a conversation and you're bringing awareness, and that person feels like, oh, someone's interested in me, someone's paying attention to me. And that's where you feel the Jesus. You feel the presence of Jesus there, which is what, as you know, that's what he did for 3 years in Palestine.
Sort of like what Dr. Jerry Root talks about, seeing the garbage man and going out just to talk to him. You know, he's there every day or whenever the garbage is collected, but nobody pays any attention to him.
Right. He's yeah. You talk to him, he becomes a real person.
Yeah.
And one of God's children, like you and like me. And so the Neighbor Walks was started as an offshoot of the thing. Again, so for your viewers, I don't have a slide for that, but it's SB Neighbor Walks. If you put that in your browser, you'll come up and you'll see the schedule of their walks. And the other one was, Kingdom Causes, and they became partners. This is an organization that's actually California-wide, but the local part of that is called Kingdom Causes, and one of our, Jeff Schaefer's a key person there, as well as DJ Johnson.
What was that? Okay, hold that there. What's this? Is that? This is.
Well, now this was
last year.
This was last year. Robert Chow Romero was a very popular speaker. He's this remarkable man who's is an associate professor at UCLA. He's a lawyer, he's a pastor, and he's an author. And I understand he washes dishes too when his wife finishes the dinner. So that's what he is. And interesting because he's part Chinese and part Mexican. So he obviously in his lifetime he has these worlds that he can inhabit and worlds that he can understand. He teaches Chicano studies at UCLA. And so he's got, I'm sure his classes have, over-enrolled to hear him speak. So he was great. He was with us last year, and we had the breakout sessions too. And
that brings us up to date. I think you have a film to show, and then we'll get into this year.
Good.
Mike, can you run the 1 minute?
When someone asks, what is God doing in your city? What do you show them? When they ask, what can I do? What do you tell them? Come and explore answers to these questions as we discover expressions of church that are being led by bold and compassionate groups of God's people, sharing His love in their neighborhoods. This year's Santa Barbara Mission Conference features keynote speaker Tim Sorens, pastor, author, and visionary leader. Local practitioners will share the spiritual foundations that animate their work, and there will be breakout sessions designed to equip us for action. Join God's people and discover church everywhere. Saturday, February 1st at the Santa Barbara Mission Conference.
I waited patiently upon the Lord.
Nice.
As we cowboys say, y'all come.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Let's, we've got enough time to spend 3 to 5 minutes on some of these. How many total speakers do you have?
Well, we have one keynote speaker. In the morning, instead of breakout sessions, which is traditionally what we do, we're having a panel discussion. And our council members, they like this idea, which is when God calls you to serve in some kind of ministry, what is that like? Describe that. In this case, it's justice ministry. It's things like homelessness.
These are 4 people on a panel?
These are 4 people on a panel with a moderator.
Tell us about them.
Okay, the 4 people are well, Sister Arthur is from the St. Vincent Society, which is, it's just past Highway 154, that large property there.
That's a Catholic.
She's a Catholic sister, yeah. Well, we're ecumenical, and she's the one we wanted for this panel because she's a champion of the ministry to homeless and poor and people, indigent people. And so there's a center, the St. Vincent de Paul Center is on, it's near, as you go from State Street to pick up 154, that length near the Sansom Clinic on Posadas Lane. Anyway, that's the St. Vincent Center. And that's
I always have a story. I was invited by a Catholic friend to go meet Cardinal McIntyre, who was there for the dedication of the new, 25 years ago when the nuns were no longer running it. And when we went in line, of course, my Catholic friend kneeled and kissed the ring, and I was uncomfortable in doing that. I put my hand out, and he was very comfortable just shaking my hand.
Good. Very good. That's encouraging. Well, okay, so Sister Arthur has been, for 64 years, her ministry has been to the people that are homeless and indigent. And so, being on the panel, we want to hear her story and what it's like. For example, the panel is about God's call for justice ministry. But let's say you've done it for 2 or 3 years and you get distracted or you get worn out, or you say, well, I see my neighbors here buying new cars and I see them, going out to lunch at these cafes. So how do you maintain this call of your ministry to serve people who
So she's on that panel and that's her concerns. How about the other people?
Well, then Jeff Schaefer is a panelist. He's with the Kingdom Causes, which is our partner. And Jeff is well known in this town because he likes to collaborate with churches and with government. So the city council knows him quite well because he'll often be there advocating for something. But within ministry, his real passion nowadays is human trafficking. And he doesn't say eliminate it, he says eradicate it. So his goal is to eradicate human trafficking. And it exists all around us, I'm told.
Several million slaves in our country are women, mainly, young boys who are trafficked.
Right. Often it's for sexual...
I just think we should kill the person using them, but then that's not very Christian.
Are you running for office? Well, also labor too, because right away you think of prostitution, but it's also labor. I mean, you can enslave someone who'd become your maid or your gardener. So
Right.
That's one of the evils in society. So Jeff is committed to a number of things, but that's the one.
Does he get into all those different ways, like entrapping a man or a woman to serve in your mansion because you've got their passport and they're illegal?
Well, I think he talks about the recovery. What you can do in Christian ministry is the recovery side of that. And you work with law enforcement too. I say city council because he's good at advocating at city council meetings, or maybe the county supervisors, but also law enforcement. So we partner with the district attorney's office because, so we work together and we're stronger together, right? So
you're talking all district attorneys are specific to Santa Barbara County.
Yes, Jeff is going to speak county-wide. He won't speak about neighboring counties, I don't think.
Okay.
But I think it's like recovery and so on. But the DA and law enforcement is better poised to attack, to get into what you were asking about, Jim. But the recovery, people recovering from this, who are freed from slavery and who are recovering, I think that's the main area.
Well,
So that's two of the panelists.
The craziness of the proposition that made crimes up to $1,000 not a crime, and took away the club that the DAs and police had to say to somebody, we can charge you with a felony or you can go into recovery. And that was we passed Proposition 36 to allow them to do that, and it makes quite a difference when they have to make the choice. Which way is my life going to go? And if they want to go to prison for 6 months, okay. But if they'll get into one of these programs, and that's the kind of program that he runs.
Well, he doesn't run the program, but no, that's not specifically what he does. But he draws attention to this, and then again, he works with the DA's office and with the local government to promote the eradication of human trafficking. Another one is Carla Can. She's coming back again this year, this time as a panelist, and she leads the Immigrant Hope, which is housed in the church on the west side. It's on, what church is, I forget. Sorry, I forget the name, but anyway, it's just off Carrillo Street, west of the freeway. Anyway, Immigrant Hope is her organization.
Ocean Meadows?
No, it's Shoreline Church. I'm sorry, Shoreline Church. Yeah, and that's so she is the head of the now for 2 years now been the head of Immigrant Hope, which is helping people to immigrate legally, helping people to get their papers, to get a driver's license, to establish legal residency and citizenship in the United States.
Yeah, many of our immigrants who are in the shadows, it's because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they don't know who they can trust to talk to. And so this is a person that can help guide them through the legal system. Huh?
And I think, she's a second generation immigrant from Mexico. She's the first in her family to go to college. She went to UC San Diego, but she's the daughter of immigrants, and so she has a heart for people. And I think the word spreads. If someone says, okay, I speak only a little English, and this woman is helping me get legally qualified to become an immigrant, then the word spreads around, and I think that's very effective. And then people say, okay, there is a place I can go. There is hope for me to become legally living in the United States.
I've got a question for her I'll bring up.
Yeah.
Used to be, if you were an illegal and you witnessed a crime, you didn't hide from the police. You wanted to become a witness, because if you became a witness, you had a pathway to direct citizenship, green card, get into the system, and in 5 or 7 years be a full citizen because you were a good person. I want to ask her, what's happened to that program? Is it still in existence?
Well, save that question for her. Yeah, good. Shall I mention the fourth one?
Yeah.
Landon Rank is the son of Doug Rank, who is a very well-known pastor at the Free Methodist Church. He's a youth pastor. That's what he's done.
On the Mesa.
On the Mesa. It's done his whole...
Yellow church still?
Is it yellow? I don't know. It's a great location. But that's what he's done his whole time in ministry as a youth pastor. So he's raised many, many of Santa Barbara's kids. So Landon is called the Faro Center. Some of your viewers may be aware of the FARO. It's an acronym for something, but it's also a pun on the Spanish word for lighthouse. Faro in Espanol, I think, is lighthouse. And so they tell me. And so the Faro Center is this great collaboration between Christian ministry and the city of Santa Barbara to have a place where homeless people can go during the daytime to go to the next stage in their life. If mental health is inhibiting, is stopping your progress, there'll be a counselor there for mental health. If it's residential services or something, there'll be a counselor at the center to talk to you about that. If it's employment, there's a counselor there to help you employment and to respond to ads.
Now, where is it located again?
It's on 621 Chapala Street.
So it's downtown.
So the city...
They don't have to go out to Goleta or
No.
the county offices or...
Right. And I think from what I hear, it's going well, because my church, First Presbyterian, we take food down there because they offer lunch to the people who come in. And so we're one of the churches that brings food there for their pantry, so there's food for lunch. And so that's 621 Chapala Street. Again, that's a building that's been taken over for this purpose, and I think it's from 10 to 2. So the issues with neighbors who don't want it there, or businesses who say it's hurting our business, I think they've worked it out successfully. So there's a limited time when the people come there, and then they go away. And the staff there is make sure they clean up. If people leave their Coke cans around, then they'll pick them up. So I think it's working out well. So this is a problem for Santa Barbara, and it's a way that people can agree on, a way of dealing with this problem.
Tell them that you're going to give these businesses that aren't cooperating and they have to be very careful around, that you're going to give them a name to Jim Worthen. He's going to come and talk to them, because it's it's really important how we treat human beings. You know, if a person comes in off the street to your business and tattered but needs to use the bathroom, you have to be careful in not total rejection. You know, there's ways to do it, and we have to find the way.
We do. I definitely agree. Well, then Nikki Ramage is the moderator for that, and this was a bit more her idea, and the council agreed with her. And she's one of the associate pastors at the Free Methodist Church. She's not too long out of seminary, so she is one of the associate pastors.
Fuller again?
No, sorry, Jim. No, she went to Azusa Pacific, which is another Christian school.
Yeah.
And she got her Master's of Divinity there in 2017. Oh, so she's been out.
So we've got 6 more minutes. Pick out who you want to talk about. You want people to come and see all of them.
Well, all right. We want them to see all of them, yes. And again, to be informed, that's relatively easy if you're producing a conference. To be inspired, we do that by inviting the right people to speak and to lead the conferences, people that you can see the ministry and you can see Jesus inside of them, and they care for what they're doing. And so that's inspiring. And then the engagement part. That's where we pray that what takes place during the 7 or 8 hours of the mission conference will lead to your engagement. The inspiration, we give you information where you can go. If you care about human trafficking, then we have agencies that here's the phone number, here's the email, sign up to volunteer. 2 hours a week, fine. With 2 hours a week, you can be part of one of these organizations and you can help, for example, the eradication of human trafficking. And so that's, if I have a minute or so.
We got.
The one that I didn't, there's one, the homelessness. Again, now this time they said, let's turn to Pat Wheatley, who is, she's worked in Santa Barbara for many, many years. Let me read a little bit of her bio.
His name again?
Wheatley. Pat Wheatley. It's a she.
She.
Yeah. And she is, she's a member of the Free Methodist Church now. And she has been in human services for over 47 years. She ran a crisis intervention center and so on. She's part of the development of Transition House here in Santa Barbara. And she's the chair of the Housing Authority for the City of Santa Barbara. That's a big organization.
Yeah.
They do housing for lower income and dealing with. Anyway, so she's going to talk about homelessness and affordable housing. So that's looking at the whole thing, whether you can't have a home, or if you're a 2-income family and you still can't pay rent, what is Santa Barbara going to do about homelessness? Now, let me emphasize, this is, again, we've been talking about Santa Barbara, but all the slides you've been seeing, this is the Presbytery of Santa Barbara, which is Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, San Luis Obispo County. And so we still have people who love to come to the conference. So what you learn here can be taken back. This is God willing. What you learn about homelessness here, it can be taken back to Thousand Oaks, it can be taken to San Luis Obispo, it can be taken to Ventura, and that's important that we do that, so it isn't just focusing on your own. The lessons you learn here can be applied to where you have
You
to
know,
live.
the promo to a movie, it's called a trailer. I want you to do a trailer for my show next week with Jeff.
Oh, well,
Tell
yes.
us why they should watch next week with Jeff.
Well, very good. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, well, Jeff, I mentioned him about human trafficking, and you'll see his passion. He is totally committed. That's why he's on the morning panel, because he's totally committed to his ministries. And when you went to Alameda Park, he was there too. He's always there. Father Bob Fox is there as well. And so plus he wants to bring up the next generation. You and I are comfortable, we know each other and so on. But for example, if you're concerned about the future of the church and the future of Christian ministry, you have to work with the younger people, and that's where he zeroes in. And so he is sharing the Human Trafficking Breakout Center with a Westmont undergraduate named Annika, and she is going to co-lead that. So we call her Generation Z, and so he's also thinking of that. So you'll enjoy, your audience will enjoy the interview with Jeff, because he's committed to what he's doing, and he cares about people that a lot of people don't care about.
Verbally, look at the camera over here now after me telling you never to look at it. Tell the people how they register, remind them of some of the things that Mike's been flashing here verbally.
Register now. If you come the day of the conference on February 1st, a Saturday, then you pay $10 more than you would pay right now if you register. And we encourage you, we want you to register for our conference and see the great conference that it is. And it's been so for 22 years. The easiest way is to go online. And since it's Santa Barbara, it's SB Mission Conference, all together, lowercase, SB Mission Conference, and mission is singular, sbmissionconference.org. And there you'll find the registration button right on the face page.
We're in our last 30 seconds.
The last 3, okay. And so that's how you do it, and do it. Register. And be informed, be inspired, and then follow through by engaging in one of the things where you're inspired to do.
And you promise to shake hands with everybody.
Oh, everyone, yeah. That's what politicians do, right? No, hugs. I think hugs are better than handshaking. We'll even go that far. A warm hug.
Thank you. God bless you. God
Thank
bless the Mission Conference.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Thank you so much.